Hello, everyone. I welcome you back to this series on the Islam attacks, terrorist attacks in the nation of Nigeria. This is the part three, and we're just watching through the video clip from one of the YouTubers, ministers on YouTube, how he had a guest in his platform, and that guest, Jihad, spoke a lot because he actively goes to Nigeria, the locations where the displaced people, the victims of the Islam terrorist attacks, usually when they're displaced. So he has first-hand knowledge. So we're just presenting this to the world. You do whatever you want with this information. If you're going to still believe the lies from social media, the lies from the very government of that nation, or you're going to pay attention, read between the lines, and see for yourself what's going on. So let's get started. Sorry, I just want to change something. Okay.
Oh, and I'll be honest, the Nigerian government right now is spending money paying religious leaders to carry this narrative. They're paying politicians, they're paying lobbyists in the United States to carry the false narrative that it's just terrorism, everyone's being killed, these terrorists, these bandits are just terrible. And it's a lie from the pit of hell. And I'll explain even more how this gets whitewashed and put in the mainstream narrative. So let's say there's a major attack, all right, like what happened in June of this year. 280 Christians were slaughtered. Half of them were burned alive. The other ones that weren't burned alive were shot and machete to death, escaping being burned alive, right? Well, the Nigerian government comes out, they hold a press conference. And their talking points, their narrative, then gets sent to Al Jazeera. And Al Jazeera is the one that issues the main publication that goes to the mainstream media. And Al Jazeera will say, unknown gunmen came and attacked these people, and only 100 were killed.
By the way, that Hail Jezebel news outlet is not in Nigeria. So tell me why they are the ones who take the news, spin it to favor the Islam jihadists, and then before it's filtered into the Nigerian media that would now broadcast the propaganda, the lies. This runs deeper than you and I know.
So by the time it hits the mainstream media, it says unknown gunmen, and they always reduce the numbers of the actual. They reduce the numbers of those that were actually killed in every instance. So Nigerian government puts on a press conference. They pay the journalists to show up and regurgitate their talking points. Then it goes to Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera is part of the Associated Press. So their article then gets aggregated and gets put out in CNN, all the other major news publications across the world. And so the truth is completely suppressed.
So there is an active, actual conspiracy going on where they're working together, the government, along with Muslim terrorists who are terrorists because they're Muslims, because of their ideology as Muslims. Terrorist is not just a generic term, like people suddenly snap sideways and become terrorists. It's ideology that drives it, and it's Muslim ideology most of the time. And then you've got the networking with Al Jazeera and other TV networks. Then from Al Jazeera, you get U.S. TV networks who are, or I should say news stations and stuff like that, who do stuff. And it's like they don't do any journalistic integrity to actually find out what's really going on. They just repeat the talking points.
Right. They just pick up that article from Al Jazeera, and then that becomes the talking.
Where else did we see this? The war in Gaza. It's the same spinning, changing, fabrication, projection, deflection, misinformation, disinformation, blatant lies told against Israel, tarnishing the image of Israel, concealing the truth, all the horrific, inhuman things done by the terrorists Hamas in Gaza and what they did in Israel on 7th October, all of them flipped because journalism is dead. Nobody in the media right now, news media, wants to do any journalism. They just copy and paste the lies from their paymasters.
Points on CNN and all the other world news organizations, and that's what goes to the mainstream magazines. No one bothers to ask the questions or to send a reporter or a journalist there to follow up.
Well, fortunately, faith in these like old news organizations has never been lower, and that's good, because their behavior has never been lower.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always been manipulative, I think. And so we're just being real and honest about this stuff, because you have to be, or else you can't combat it. You can't fight it if you can't name it. So it's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really sad. But people ask, like, well, how come we don't hear about this? Well, this is why. Because Nigeria really doesn't have a free press.
Yeah.
Because what happens is if a major event happens, the Nigerian government has to call the press conference.
Trust me, that is a fact. There is no free press in the fake, the so-called democracy that they have in that place. There is no free press. Journalists can never report the truth. People will disappear. People will be punished. They will be cancelled, erased, silenced, made nothing. I'll cast your mind back. Go type on Google, wherever, the name Daily Giwa. Daily Giwa. Go type that name on Google. Find out what happened to him. Just to explain a little bit why there is no free press in Nigeria. Don't be fooled by the scam, the demon craziness going on there that they hide under democracy. It's an abject, wicked, ruthless, despotic, tyrannical regime that has ever been in Nigeria. Nigeria has not got democracy.
Nigerian government pays the journalists to show up. There is no real independent journalism being done, which is also why our organization, we can talk about it later, created an outlet for journalists in Nigeria called truthnigeria.com. And we're trying to battle that false narrative that's taking place, because we actually send journalists on the ground and go interview witnesses and investigate what actually happened. And we put out the truth.
Yeah, you were telling about this. You like to have like teams come in to do their own investigative journalism so that they can report with integrity on the topics.
Well, right. Well, how crazy is it that every time there's a major attack where 100, 200, 300 Christians are killed, and then it hits the mainstream media, and it's always unknown gunmen. It's always bandits, robbers, unknown gunmen. When everyone on the ground that survived this says it was Fulani, they were shouting Allahu Akbar when they were doing this. They were on motorcycles. They were, and this is the kind of weapons they were using. This is where they came from. This is where they went. I don't know. Who, what, where, when, and why journalism. I thought that's what we were supposed to do. But the Nigerian government just says, oh, unknown gunmen.
Yeah, they're more interested in controlling people than they are in speaking truth or giving people the respect to even know what's going on. We get the same thing in the U.S. with, I mean, if there's an attack that could be construed in a political way that could help, especially if it would help people on the right, because the news media is liberal, they'll hide the identity. They'll be like, we don't know, or we got the manifesto, but nobody can know about it or see it or what they said. It's the same strategies, same strategies.
Right. Yeah, it's dishonest. And if the Nigerian government would put as much money as they're spending into putting out a false narrative into actually fighting terrorists, we would see a lot less Christians being killed.
Sorry, sadly, we have to stop this one there. I need not say so much right now. It is very depressing, very heartbreaking that in the 21st century, 2025, this is the same thing going on in that nation called Nigeria. This has been going on for decades. He said 2021. I can guarantee you it began before then. But guys, let us not just watch these things, listen to these things, and go sit down, business as usual. What are you going to do? He mentioned truthnigeria.com. That's a website that you can find the truth from actual people, from those who are on ground. Do that for yourself. What can you do to help? How can you help? Let's all put our voices. This needs to stop. It may not have reached where we are in our little corners of the world. Living in the south of Nigeria doesn't keep me safe. Because if they succeed in the north, they will break in through the middle belt. They will penetrate the west, which they already have most of the west, because that's predominantly Muslim land as well, Islam part of the nation as well. They're coming to the south. What stops them from taking the east? And Nigeria will be swallowed by this monster. Do your little bit, because if we all kept quiet, we will all become casualties in this war that those people have said they intend to bring to all of us. Remember, if someone tells you who they are, what they're going to do, believe them. I'll see you again soon.